Howdy! Thank you for providing your second video and explaining your reasoning and motivation for your first video. Or I shouldn't say first video, but the video that I responded to with a reply video. I wish to comment here about your second video. First, I thought it might be interesting to note that 4 days ago there was published a report about early cognition in infants and the apparent genetic markers that demarcate between tonal and atonal languages. I realized that your query in your first video was facetious, but I thought it interesting that genetics and language might be connected the same or similar way genetics and sexuality are. On to your second video. I must note that I have not heard of the website Why Doesn't God Heal Amputees, and I am not familiar with the website's claims. I imagine it questions why true believers use faith healing as an example for the existence of gods, when those healings are usually, if not always, innocuous, equivocal, and sparse. To that website, I would answer them by saying that the gods do not heal amputees for one or more of the following reasons. Isn't this fun? Number 1, the gods cannot heal amputees. Number 2, the gods do not want to heal amputees. Number 3, the gods are not aware of the existence of amputees. Number 4, the gods do not exist. Number 5, the gods do sometimes heal amputees, but nobody has noticed it, and it didn't make the newspapers, nor did it make it to Oprah. The real issue, of course, is the sorrow, misery, agony, and death that results in belief in faith healing. Here's a book by James Randi called The Faith Healers, which is excellent, and there's another one called Deadly Blessings by Richard Brenneman. These are two great books on the subject. They explain why belief in faith healing is evil, and why the faith healing sham is immoral and unethical. As for why some people believe faith healing exists and occurs, the book Mind of the Bible Believer by Edmund Cohen is an excellent book. Okay, I wish to address part of your second video here.
Retnio, or Retni0, however you pronounce this, says, Fact, human beings are born into this world a blank slate, a tabula rasa.
I realize your question was facetious, but your correspondent's answer is wrong, and I thought it important to point that out.
We gain knowledge of the world. Okay, wait a minute. You violated the rules. I told you that the answer couldn't be naturalistic. And almost all of you, especially the ones who made the video responses, accused me of stacking the question because I forbade you from giving a naturalistic answer.
That, of course, is your contention and why you asked the question. The problem is that your question is not analogous to what appears to be the questions on the website Why Doesn't God Heal Amputees? The null hypothesis is on that website's side. Quote, naturalistic answers, unquote, are the default because, as far as anyone and everyone can tell, there are no such thing as correct supernatural answers. There are, of course, millions of supernatural answers, a very great many of which contradict each other.
Hell, no, that's the whole point. I'm sorry, I thought we were allowed to use bad arguments. I mean, since the Why Won't God Heal Amputees website does it all the time.
The website Why Doesn't God Heal Amputees need not make any arguments. They need merely ask questions. I have not looked at the website, but judging from your video, it appears they are asking why questions and not do or if questions. Why questions assume there is a phenomena that requires explanation. Do and if questions do not make that assumption. It is for the proponents of a claim to first produce evidence that a phenomena exists for which one may ask questions. The website in question is apparently asking bad questions because it presupposes the existence of gods that they don't believe in, which is, of course, ridiculous.
To the 3 people that gave video responses that very expertly pointed out that I had loaded the question and pre-presumed the answer beforehand.
The problem is your loaded question is not analogous to the website's loaded questions. The presupposition of the website in the question is that the supernatural and the gods either do not exist or they do not care about healing amputees. That is the default, the null hypothesis, and it carries no burden of proof. Your counter question is contrary to the null hypothesis, and thus does hold the burden of proof. Therefore, your question is not analogous to theirs. You will now contend, of course, that the lack of the supernatural and the lack of the existence or the lack of the interest of the gods is not the null hypothesis. I will then answer that all of the valid evidence so far available shows that it is indeed the default condition, and that there are no valid evidences to suggest otherwise. It must be pointed out that when it comes to actually living in the world, one will not find any place in which to plug gods into. Whether auto repair, carpentry, engineering, baking a cake, adding two numbers together, creating new polymers, performing surgery, for some examples, trying to add gods is not possible because there are no places in which one can fit gods into. The results are the same as if one leaves gods out or tries to cram gods in. Now that I think about it, a website titled, "Why Doesn't God Heal Amputees?" sounds stupid, silly, pointless, and inane. It sounds like a website I would never be interested in viewing, let alone give it any consideration at all. Asking why a god or gods do or not do, does or not does something is ridiculous.